We're at a local music studio focused on an upcoming beach music event. We'll tell you all about it coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're focused on the Long Bay Symphony presents Legends of Beach Music, to be held Myrtle Beach High School this Sunday, 7 p.m. We're visiting with Maurice Williams of Maurice Williams and the Zodiacs. A native of Lancaster, South Carolina, and currently a resident of Charlotte. We spotlighted him on December 30th of last year. I think I remember that day. I only got 4 or 5 questions out. And we filmed for almost 30 minutes, Maurice. You remember that?
It was beautiful.
That was amazing. And
yes.
Obviously today we have half the time and probably twice the questions laid out. Loretta, the producer, helped go over a number of things. And there were so many questions she wanted me to ask you that day. And I said, Loretta, wasn't it a good interview, Loretta? Didn't it turn out okay? She said, yeah, you just... You were listening. And Maurice was talking, which was great. Thank you again for that day. And I hope that performance down in Charleston was a great one.
It was. It was good. Everything was very good.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Obviously,
definitely.
This week, highlighting you and so many other amazing folks that are going to help make this Sunday's performance true beach legends. You,
yes.
Bill Pinkney, Billy Scott.
Oh, yes.
International names. Obviously, you and Bill have been around a heck of a long time and have performed all over the world. I think in that interview on the 30th, we talked about a performance you'd done in London.
Yes,
and had a sold-out crowd, 6,000 plus folks there, doing everything to be a part of you.
Yes, it was beautiful. We enjoyed it so much. We had to go back and learn songs, from the Gladiolas days, the Gladiolas, and songs that we don't usually perform over here. But the people over there remembered the songs, and it was just fantastic. It's unbelievable.
I bet. Obviously, there are a lot of viewers who may have missed that interview back then, so I want to highlight some of those questions. When did you first know that you wanted to be a musician?
Oh, gosh, when I was a kid. I was about 8, 7, somewhere along in there.
It was that young.
Yes, because I remember I used to listen to my uncle rehearse at home in our home because we had the piano there, and he had a jazz band. And so when I would listen to him rehearse, I was like knee-high to a stool or something. And I'd go around and salon him and listen to his rehearsal. He had the whole band there rehearsing. And that's when the music just grew on me. And I knew then, Greg, that I wanted to be a part of this music thing. And so from there, I went into the church choir, and it all started just like that. That's
amazing. And your uncle encouraged it?
Yes. More so my aunt, his wife. Aunt Inez. Yeah, his wife, Clinton, Inez Clinton. She really stuck with me on wanting to be in the music business. She learned. I used to imitate everybody. She'd take me to stores. I imitate the guy that was talking in the store. I say, Big, he call her Big. Then I said, Big, the man talk like this. He say, boy, what you want? What you want to get there, son? I'd imitate everybody that we would run across. And she took a liking to that, and she'd say, you ought to do that all the time. So I started imitating people and the voice, and then I started imitating different songs.
Right.
And she encouraged it, and she would have me play piano at the social club functions. I'd be the only one there playing the piano, Greg. Just me. I'd be playing the bass in my left hand and playing it, and they'd be dancing. It was unbelievable. I was a little kid. I was up there doing it.
Yeah.
Playing the boogie woogie at an early age, and so from there it just kept growing.
So your aunt and uncle were there. Why do you think she did it, Maurice? Why do you think she was so encouraging? Was there something in her life, someone who prompted her earlier on? She knew it was people like herself that would possibly keep you going, that would get you interested in things you may not have known you get interested in.
Yeah, I think she was very outgoing, and she had seen talent before, and big bands, small bands. She was into that. And when she saw that I had a little teeny bit of that, she wanted to develop it, wanted me to develop it. So she encouraged me all from there on to my whole career, you know, and gosh, what a blessing.
Absolutely.
You know?
Blessing is the word.
It paid off.
When you think back then, obviously you began not only mimicking the guys in the store, but as you said, mimicking music. Was there a favorite song at that time, 7 or 8, 9 years old, or a favorite group?
Fat Stamina was key. Fat Stamina, Blueberry Hill, all that stuff. And I'm walking, I would start playing like Fats. You know Fats, he used a lot of triplets, you know. You know, all that. And I started playing like that, Fat Stamina. Because we had just about all his early records. That was his time. And I grew up listening to him play the triplets on the piano, and I started playing like that. Yeah.
And you formed a group at a pretty early age.
Yeah.
Your first group, was that with friends, neighborhood friends, or was that...
High school friends. The Royal Charms.
The Royal Charms.
And we were in, well, junior high, really, when we started. And we started playing for our proms. They got us to play for our proms. So we started in Glee Club. And we all could sing, and then we were in the band. We all could sing, and we could play instruments. So our music teacher, Mrs. Sample, suggested that we form a pop group. You know, so at her suggestion, we formed a group, all of us, and I would play the piano, and we had a guitar player. Earl would play guitar, Mac Basson was on drums, William Massey was on vocals and tenor sax, and Earl Gaynor was on the guitar, you know, and we had added Willie Jones. Willie Jones, he didn't play an instrument, he just sang. And Norman Wade was on bass, sang the bass, you know.
A big group, Maurice.
Yeah, and out of that, we came the Royal Charms out of Lancaster and out of Boston Street High School.
When you think about music you first began performing, both where you performed first and what you were performing first, can you obviously remember do you remember everything vividly? Do you remember things like that? I mean, that's a long time ago. There's a lot of things I don't remember from junior high, that's for sure.
Yeah, but it's easy. We were singing songs like the 5 Keys, like the 5 Satins, Billy Ward and the Dominoes. Everything we heard on the radio, we were singing. We even sang like 3 Corns on the Fountain. Remember that? 3 corns on the fountain, da 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 da. Which one will the fountain bless? We would sing stuff like that, very pop songs about the 4 Aces. The 4 Aces. We'd do that stuff. And we just did it all. And I remember very vividly singing songs by the 5 Keys, which and a tune called The Glory of Love. You got to live a little, give a little, and let the clouds roll by a little. That's the glory of love. You know, we'd do stuff like that, man. And, oh, gosh, I remember all that. Thank God I remember.
Maurice, yes, absolutely.
And that's the way we just got started. And we would do our high school proms. And by doing that, I never thought at the time that by doing this, that I would never be able to attend my own prom. I've never been to a prom before.
Oh, that's right.
Never, because we would always be playing for a prom. Right. And then the word got around, Greg, who was not only playing for our prom, we playing for other people's proms. And then soon we were at the University of South Carolina performing for frat parties.
You know, I hadn't thought about that, Maurice. Did that make it tough to date? Because you were always performing, you know, for events where you'd get dressed up?
And no. the girls are always there. They were always there. So we got quite a few girls by being able to perform. Right. Okay. So we sort of had our pick of girls.
Listen to that.
Really, back then, and dates came easy. We would date when we could. You know, we just didn't get a chance to go to many social functions because we were what? We were the one playing for the
performing, exactly.
Which was good. You know, we enjoyed it. Really did.
What is that like, Maurice, being on the stage performing, knowing everyone in the crowd's focused almost entirely
Oh, it's good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the day, and it started out. Gosh, it swells your head a little when you're a kid like that.
I bet.
It just swells your head, and you think, "Oh my gee whiz, we are it." Ha ha.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody likes you, and your teachers love you, and they start doing favors for you. You start getting away with things that you really shouldn't be getting away with.
Mm-hmm.
I want to add in there, because if somebody out there got a group now and doing that, get the studies first. I feel typing by being a favorite. And I wish I'd have really studied my typing. Now I have to type. I type like this. One letter at a time.
Oh, yeah, typing is so important.
And the first thing the guy told me, he says, by you being able to play keyboards, you'll be a whiz at typing. But he liked the group. Right. He liked us anyway.
Right.
So we didn't have to go to his class because we were favorites. He passed us anyway because we were we were the gladiolas and we were singers.
Oh, wow.
And so I didn't. He's a great teacher. He's a great teacher. But by him letting us slide, we took advantage of sliding and just got away with it. And so therefore I didn't do well in typing at all. That's why I'm doing this today, you know.
But somehow, Maurice, you were still pointed in the right direction. Was there any particular event, anything out there in particular that pointed you in that direction?
Just wanting to be successful in performing and writing songs. That's really what we wanted to do. And I really wanted to write. And in the beginning, I just wanted to produce the group. I wasn't that interested in singing out front. I wasn't at all. I wanted to be in the background to tell them how to sing and how to perform and just be the piano player, you know. So I did that for a while, you know, and I teach the guys, they was out there doing it. I was in the background playing and keeping everything, the music part straight.
Orchestrating.
And then when we went to Nashville, I had wrote Little Darling for William Massey to sing the lead. Okay, his mother wouldn't let him go to Nashville. So we got there, and when we had to perform for the recording manager, I had to sing the song. So I sung lead on Little Darling then, so we made the record. The rest is history. I've been doing it ever since.
That is amazing.
As fate would have it.
As faith would have it.
Yes, and I used to stand up and play the piano all the time. At Apollo, was Stay, when we had to stay, was playing Apollo. James Brown. And my friend James Brown said, "Man, you need to get behind that piano, man. Can't nobody see you. You the man. You need to be out front singing that song." I said, okay. So I sort of let that go and stepped out front. He was right. I was out front, you know, because in the back I couldn't do it. Like, he said, "You need to be out front singing. So you're the leader. And the piano's holding you back there." I said, okay. So I went out front and been out front ever since.
That's amazing.
Oh, man. Yeah, he was something else.
That's
Brown.
Amazing. We are visiting with a man who was told by James Brown to get out from behind the piano, to get out front. And he's been out front since. Maurice Williams, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Greg.
Incredible opportunity. I'm sorry we didn't have twice the time. We're definitely going to get you back for volumes 3, 4, 5, and on. This really means a lot.
I've got a lot to say.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much.
Stay tuned to more Carolina People coming up next. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're in Quinby, South Carolina, at Bradley House Studios. We're focused on the Long Bay Symphony's Legends of Beach Music, which will be held at Myrtle Beach High School this Sunday at 7 p.m. And we're visiting with Ricky Godfrey, another legend of beach music and the lead singer of the Sugar Bees. Good morning, Ricky. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
I don't know if I'd be considered a legend. I'm actually a newcomer in some ways to this field.
Well, you've taken on pretty dang quick, it sounds like, and the Sugar Bees are coming on strong. This is an exciting opportunity to get you out, and thanks so much for traveling in from Nashville
It's a pleasure to be here.
That's a big deal to come in this morning to think about highlighting all that goes on with beach music, but what goes on preparing for this weekend's event for the Long Bay Symphony and beach music getting together. Couldn't think of, there were a heck of a lot of folks to think about getting in, but getting you in was a real highlight. Thanks so much.
You're quite welcome.
Ricky, can we talk real quick about yourself? Are you originally from the area?
I'm from Greenville, South Carolina. I was born in 1956. I don't mind telling my age because it has a lot to do with what's happened to me. And I was born totally blind. And anyway, started off at the School for the Blind in Spartanburg.
So you were born totally blind?
Yes, sir.
Did you have siblings, Ricky?
I have 2 brothers and a sister. My older brother, who's also a musician, he was also born totally blind.
Boy, howdy. And you said you attended a special school.
They have a school for the deaf and the blind in Spartanburg that serves the state of South Carolina. And I went there when I was 7 years old. I stayed up till I was 15. And then at that point, I was really wanted to go to public school. So from the 8th grade on, I finished my education in Greenville, South Carolina. So
that's wonderful. And how old were you when you began your music lessons?
I would have been 8 because being born in November, I wasn't able to start the school when I was 5, almost 6. So I had to start the school when I was 6, almost 7. And then we went through a grade, it was called preparatory grade. But then when I got in the 1st grade, when I was 7, getting ready to turn 8 2 months later, then I was in the 1st grade, and it was at that point that I started taking piano. And the kind of training you received was almost exclusively in piano? And choral singing. It was classical, very strict classical education, I might say. My piano teacher did not like anything, but, I mean, he didn't even like Stephen Foster folk music. I mean, it had to be strictly Bach, Beethoven, Mozart. That was his 3 big favorites. And so, we did a lot of classical training there.
And Ricky, can you tell us how you progress into other areas of music?
Well, at home, of course, everybody always has their musical favorites. I came from kind of a southern redneck background, the poor class. My mom worked in cotton mills. Came from a broken home. My dad had actually been to jail for some problems, and no need to get into all that, but he was not really a good provider, so my mom who was an incredible woman, refused to give up her children, refused to abandon them, and she did an incredible job. It was really hard for her to send my brother and I to the school, but she realized it was the best thing for us. We would stay there during 5 days, and then generally come home on the weekends. So it was a boarding school as well. And the musical influences I had at home when I was home was like country and bluegrass. My mother's brother loved Flatt and Scruggs and Bill Monroe and all that stuff. I had a couple of aunts on my father's side, though, who were into soul music. And it was strange because when I was a kid, sometimes we'd stay with my mother's mother, my grandmother, and she was a little bit kind of introverted. And if she caught us listening to soul music, I actually got a whipping a few times for listening to soul music. She'd say, "Don't listen to that colored music." And I'd go, "What's colored music?" She'd go, "It's that music that them black people listen to." And I'd go, "Yeah, but it sounds pretty good. What's wrong with it?" She said, "It's vulgar."
Wow.
So.
This really happened.
Oh, yeah, and I got a whipping a couple of times for listening to WHYZ in Greenville, and but I stayed at school long, during the week so much to where, she just couldn't catch me listening to it all the time.
Ricky, there was a way to get around it. That's great.
Yeah. So I think I got into soulful singing, just sort of, it's a secret attempt for me to get back at my grandmother.
Listen to that. There's always good reasons to get in there and definitely to stick it out. And how about when you first played with a group? Do you remember what your first part was?
I was actually still taking classical music, but my brother had joined this band. It was we were the only white guys in the band, but they loved. My brother was kind of soulful too, and he was playing piano, but they wanted another keyboard player, and they wanted a singer too. And my brother has always been a big supporter of mine. His name was Godfrey, and they said, "Y'all got to hear my brother sing. He could sing that Tyrone Davis or that Michael Jackson stuff, or that because this was about when I was 13, 14, it's around 1970. And he said, you got to hear this guy. And they heard me, and he said, he's got soul. Let's use him, you know.
Yeah.
That's all that mattered to them. They just wanted to find somebody that had some soul. It didn't really matter what color they were. They just looking for somebody that could bond with them and groove with them. So they hired my brother and I both. He played the band about 2 months and then got another offer for some bigger money playing, strangely enough, with a country band. So the money kind of got him out of the soul thing. But I stuck with the band, and anyway, I was did half the lead singing and played organ at first, and I also played a little bit of piano too as time went on.
And you all were playing soul music.
Yeah, we used to play at these clubs and work sometimes 6 hours and make $10 a piece. One club we worked at, I wasn't there the night it happened, but the club owner got shot and killed. So they were kind of rough places. You know, some of them. And I was about 14 years old, and my mom didn't like it, but she didn't really want to stop me either because she realized that it was really something that was that brought me a lot of happiness doing. You know, so she's pretty much always been supportive of whatever I wanted to do musically.
That's great. Is your mom still living, Ricky?
Oh yeah, she's wonderful. She's very young. She's 67 and still acts like she's about 30, and she's very young at heart and just a real cool person.
That's amazing. That first band, when you first began performing, was that an organized band?
The band was called Roland Gambrel and the Golden Masqueraders. And Roland, who was a singer, he liked to do these high falsetto things like stylistics and the shylights and the Delphonics and all that stuff. And like, for instance, we did a Battle of the Bands thing in, I think, 1971, and we did like this Michael Jackson thing, the Jackson 5 tune, I'll Be There. And of course, he's doing Michael Jackson's parts, and I'm doing Jermaine's parts, and it's kind of funny because he brings this cape and he says, I want you to wear this cape, it's going to be cool for you. And it was just a neat experience. This was at the Greenville Memorial Auditorium. It was really one of my first big jobs of being able to, you know, just play in front of a lot. There was probably 1,500 people there that night. And it was, that's when I was hooked in. I said, God, if I can do this more and get to play in front of this many people, I'm going to be famous by the time I'm 20. So.
Well, you've made it, at least by now, my gal. And I'm sure you made it by then.
Well, in my own mind, maybe.
You know, that ties into an interesting question. I was trying to think that through. When you think about if you think you would have been involved with music as a career, had you been born with vision, for instance, is there any way to gauge that?
I think I'd have probably been a redneck biker, maybe, that was, you know, kind of hung out with a bunch of bikers, just because of the background I came from, you know. I wouldn't say it was white trash, because my mom was always a real decent person. However, just the neighborhood and the area we came up with tended to be a kind of a lower class, you know, kind of redneck background, you know, particularly on my father's side. I mean, it wasn't all bad. I'm making it sound like my father's side was bad people, and they weren't always. But it tended to be more working class, you know, people who worked in the mills and, you know, who generally didn't have a whole lot of money to spend. And also a lot of, like my uncles, you know, they never finished high school and all that. And so I think I would have played music anyway. But the thing that really helped me was going to that school for the blind, because the classroom size, usually there was no more than 8 to 10 students to a class. So I got a first-rate education. And through education, you learn to get over whatever kind of environmental beginnings you may have had as a person. You know, I learned that we're all brothers and sisters. I believe that. I'm a hippie, really. You know, a lot of the hippies became yuppies in the late 70s and 80s. I always sort of still remained the hippie ideals of brotherhood. I took that seriously, and I still do.
And probably one of the earliest things you learned, which is so vital, is that you don't listen to music based on race.
Oh, yeah.
You don't listen to music based on race, and it's great to know there were so many folks out in the audience who were supporting you, whether you were white or black. Yeah, there was, and you know, and most of the audience really, you know, they really do. It's like black people just want to find out one thing: do you have soul? If you got soul, cool. If you ain't got soul, you don't need to be in here, like Bobby Bird said, you know. But there were some, you know, it was kind of tough at times because. Around 1970 or so, in the upper part of South Carolina, there was a lot of the Black Power thing going on. I think black people realizing that their options had been closed to them, a lot of them were angry, and I think with good reason. I really do. You know, I've always
been able to see all that, and see things the way that they really are. And it's pretty obvious that the black people had been kept down, even after emancipation and up till Martin Luther King. It was horrible. I remember, when the black and white people couldn't drink out of the same water fountain and all that, and I thought, this is crazy, But whenever there were some people in the audience that would be like, what's he doing on our side of town, And the people I was playing with, the other black people that'd be playing with me, they were like, if you mess with him, you got me to answer to. You just remember that. So these guys are willing to fight and die for me if that's what they had to do, because we loved each other.
Ricky, can you tell us about how you came about joining the Sugar Bees?
That happened through my friend Clifford Curry. I've been friends with Clifford for over 20 years, and I'd played with a lot of beach artists. I did an album with Sonny Turner back in 1983, 84 called The Touch, and I'd played some with people like Junior Walker and Bill Pickney. I did a thing with Bill Pickney in 1985 or 45, and I'd heard about Fred Shaw and the Sugar Bees, but I never had met him till Clifford was looking for a place to record, and in the 2 years ago, he decided to come to Bradley House, and we recorded the record, and while doing the record, I'd kind of like sing ad-libs, just goofing around, and Fred said, man, Joe Graziano is leaving. He's starting his own group. Would you like to be our new lead singer? And I said, well, sure. So Fred allowed me even to select the songs that was going to be on the My Baby's Got It record that the Sugar Bees did. And I tell you, it's been a real pleasure working with Fred. He's a genius, a computer genius, quite an engineer, and I think he's even better than he realizes that he is. And when I selected the songs, it was just a great working relationship. It's almost like that whatever he couldn't do, I could, and whatever I couldn't do, he could. And so it just made it real easy to work with him, and it's really been a pleasure working with him.
Stay tuned to more Carolina People coming up next. Don't forget, Myrtle Beach High School Auditorium, this Sunday, 7 o'clock, 3 beach music legends perform in concert with the Long Bay Symphony. You better call ahead for tickets. Call 843-448-8379.